Welcome to Zoosdays. We are so happy you can join us and learn new things with the help of our wonderful ambassador animals here at the Kansas City Zoo. The Zoosdays programs are brought to you by the Kansas City Zoological District. Be sure to check out the learning packet that was attached to the email. This packet includes special videos, activities, and background information that will enhance your learning. During the Zoosdays presentations, please feel free to ask questions or leave a comment. We will be monitoring the chat section throughout the video. We will hold the questions until the end and ask them during the question and answer segment. If you would like to ask another question or would like to share your own video or picture, please send it to education@fotzkc.org. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy this segment of Zoosdays.
Good morning. Welcome to Zoosday at the Kansas City Zoo. My name is Jessica.
And my name is Alyssa.
And we are very excited to have you with us here today. We're going to talk about a really fun topic this morning. We're going to focus on habitats. Exciting, I know. Calm your enthusiasm. But this is going to be really great. Alyssa, would you like to introduce us to what is a habitat? I think we've talked about it a little bit before.
Yes, we did talk about it a little bit. And as a matter of fact, a habitat for an animal is like a home for us. So think about a squirrel and where a squirrel lives. That is the squirrel's habitat. Just like my home is my habitat.
Oh, wow. Okay. So a habitat is going to have things the animal or person or even plant needs in it. So it's going to have all the water they require. It's going to have the specific type of food that they're looking for. It's going to have shelter from predators, from the weather, anything they might need. And it's going to have enough space for that animal. So a habitat is very specific to an individual animal. But Alyssa, can animals share habitats?
Well, as a matter of fact, they can share. And I think sharing is caring, don't you, Jessica?
Yes.
So it's a fantastic thing. So you could have one animal that actually had this particular habitat, and maybe they moved on, and guess what? Another one came in. It's almost like they put their home or habitat up for sale, and someone else came in and bought that right up.
That's pretty exciting. So like if I go to the park and I look outside and I see a squirrel in a tree.
Absolutely.
And a worm on the ground and maybe some bugs crawling around, they're all sharing the same habitat. Well, there's more habitats than just one though, I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right, Jessica.
Well, there are actually habitats found all over the world. I would love to go on a trip. Would you like to join me?
I think we should.
Okay, let's go explore some habitats. But if we're going to go exploring, we have to look like explorers. Let's go ahead and get ready.
All right. Should we do the infamous twirl?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Woo!
Ta-da! we are ready to go. We've got our clipboards in front of us and we're ready to learn. So we're going to go ahead and get started by exploring the different types of habitats that are found all around the world. Now, as we see these slides, we're going to check out some of these different habitats and see how they might look different or similar.
Fantastic. And right now it looks like we're looking at an amazing map of the world that's showing all of the different biomes that we have. You can see them listed, and the color that you see to the left is actually, if you look up at the map, where those are located. So it looks like we have the ice sheet, and the polar desert is white, a tundra, purple, a taiga, which is green. So look for the green on the map. That's where you would find the taiga. And how about some other things?
Absolutely. Now, some of them I haven't heard of before, but others, like the tropical rainforest, right across the middle of the world where the equator, the imaginary line is definitely one I recognize, as well as the desert, which tends to be a little bit higher or lower and can be very different from the rainforest. So as we can see, there's some similar habitats found all over the world, but they tend to be in similar places in relation to the middle of the earth or the distance from it.
Ooh, so the equator, is that the invisible line that we would draw around the middle of the earth where it's a little warmer?
It is,
Awesome.
and the farther we get away from it, the colder it's going to be. So let's dig a little deeper into some of these different habitats and check out what each one looks like.
Ooh, this is the tundra. Fantastic. Jessica, it looks like it just might be a little cold here. I'm looking at the snow on the ground.
Absolutely. So the tundra is an area that's definitely going to get precipitation. It's going to be a little on the chilly side. The precipitation is a form of water that falls from the air. That can include rain, snow, sleet, ice, many different ways that water can come down. In the tundra, it's typically going to be snow or ice, definitely a chilly sort of water.
So then maybe can I make the comment that in the tundra we're going to have animals that have adaptations or things that are very well suited for that environment where it's very cold, perhaps really dense fur.
Absolutely, that's going to be something they're going to look for to live in that sort of habitat. Let's check out our next habitat.
Oh, wow. Look at the savanna grassland area. And what are those little animals out there? Why, I spy a zebra. Few of them, actually.
Absolutely. Now we can see the big difference here is for sure temperature. There's not a lot of precipitation coming down in the form of snow or ice here because the savanna and grassland is going to be a lot warmer. Now it gets some rain, enough to produce low bushes, maybe the occasional tree, but you can see in the picture there's not a big forest that survives there because it doesn't get enough water in order to keep those sorts of plants alive.
Well, that's pretty cool. So the savanna, I was looking, Africa, but the grassland, we have some grasslands around here in this area.
We sure do. Kansas is full of grasslands. Missouri even has some. So there's some very near to us where we see large areas that are mostly tall grasses with very few larger plants.
Fantastic. That's amazing. I think we should go look at another one. How about you? I'm excited.
Definitely.
Ooh.
One of my favorites is appearing here, the rainforest. Now this is going to be one of the warmest habitats we're going to talk about. You can see there are lots of things growing here. There's enough water that we're even seeing a river going through the middle of it, as well as lots of plants from the ground level all the way up to very tall trees.
Oh, it looks like that's pretty diverse, or that there are a lot of animals that like to make their home here in that rainforest.
Absolutely, lots of different options when you have very warm weather all year round and plenty of precipitation or rain coming down.
Ooh.
A lot of things are able to grow.
Well, that's pretty cool. So would the rainforest be one of those places closer to the equator?
Definitely.
Fantastic.
It's usually going to be found, the tropical rainforest, right along the equator where the earth is warmest all year long.
Wow.
So even in their winter, they're still having very warm temperatures.
Well, that might be a good place to live right now, Jessica.
It sure does sound nice. Let's check out another one.
Ooh, the taiga. Now this is very near and dear to my heart. How beautiful this is. Look at the fact that it's still cold, not quite as cold as that Arctic, but look at all of those coniferous or evergreen type of trees that they're staying green all year round, and there's some water there. I bet that there are a lot of interesting animals that live here as well.
There are, and the taiga is going to have some unique landforms, which are things like mountains or hills that appear. And a lot of animals are going to utilize those landforms, those mountains, hills, trees, as part of their habitat. So we can see that the taiga gets enough moisture in order to sustain some snow and keep the trees going. But those trees are special in that they hold their needles all year round. So they're always green, which is why we have the alternate name for them of evergreen trees.
Well, that is pretty clever there, science. Jessica, I think that's a really awesome fact to know. And how great to have different landforms for those animals, and also the trees where they can hide or they can have their families. I'm sure there are a lot of different foods that they can find in those places as well.
That's right. Lots of different opportunities within that habitat for a lot of different animals to find their perfect home.
That's nice.
All right, let's see what we have next.
Oh, this is pretty fantastic. Nothing like a fall day in a deciduous forest, or a forest that have trees that lose their leaves and really experience those 4 distinct seasons of winter, spring, summer, and fall.
That looks pretty similar to where we live right now.
Sure does.
So that deciduous forest is going to get a lot of precipitation in the form of rain, but not nearly as much as the rainforest that we saw. So we can see that there's enough water to grow relatively large trees and allow them to keep those leaves on most of the year. But in order to survive the winter, they have to lose those leaves to help protect themselves. And that's why we get those lovely colors in the fall.
They are gorgeous. Well, I think that's pretty fantastic. I love the fact that you can go from a green leaf to these colors that have always been there of reds and golds, and how amazing that is, definitely.
Sure. And a lot of the animals we're going to see in that type of forest are animals that live here around us, things that we often think of. So we can see that there are many different types of habitats that all have different animals living in them, because those habitats meet their needs for space, shelter, and food and water.
That sounds really neat. It's amazing how many habitats there actually can be.
There are quite a few. Alyssa, did you enjoy any of those in particular?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's one that kind of sticks out, and that's that tropical rainforest, especially right about now. I'm thinking about all these different layers, all the biodiversity, or all of the different animals and food that are located in there. What do you think about that?
I think it's pretty fun. We might have one more habitat, though, that we want to check out before you pick your favorite.
Uh-oh, did I speak too soon? Ooh. Well, definitely in this habitat, not as much rain as we're looking at in a rainforest, right? Definitely.
Right.
If you're making your home here in the desert in this particular biome, I'll tell you what, you're going to look at what, maybe less than 10 inches of rain a year.
Yes.
Very warm temperatures during the day, and at night it gets pretty cool there. So these animals have to really be able to withstand a lack of water, and they have to be very well suited for this hot place.
Absolutely. The desert is very dry. It can be either hot or cold.
Yes.
And we can see there in this desert, there are some different landforms that might offer some shelter to animals. But as we saw, those plants were very small and not very many of them. So it certainly is a place that does not have much precipitation, and any animals or plants that live there have to be adapted or able to survive in that kind of environment. So like we said, very different from the rainforest, but I agree with you, the rainforest is a pretty fun place. There are lots of animals, a whole variety of different plants that all call that home. And I think it'd be fun to learn a little bit more about the rainforest. What do you think?
Well, I think that sounds like a great idea. As a matter of fact, maybe we should talk about it a little more. What do you think?
Okay, that sounds great. I, for one, would love to learn more about the rainforest, and I've got a few questions about it, because I understand that the rainforest is actually broken up into layers, almost like a cake.
Whoa, you know what? I thought that too. I thought there were many different layers, but I wonder just how many layers there are.
Well, let's see.
Ooh.
Here we can see all of the different layers. There are 4 main layers in any rainforest, which is a lot when you think about it. You've got everything living on the ground, which we call the forest floor. Then you've got the understory, which is where we start to see bushes, trunks of trees appear. As we move higher, we're getting into the big leafy areas of the canopy, where the trees are really starting to leaf and branch out and get very densely grown together. But even higher than that is the emergent layer, where those few tall trees are popping through, and a lot of animals are utilizing the air and the space up above.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. Now, to be at that emergent layer in a place that is so hot, I bet that's quite the hot, windy, and rainy place to be up there.
It is. It's certainly different from what reaches the forest floor as far as temperatures and sunshine and precipitation. It can be very different. Now let's go ahead and start with learning about the forest floor. There are some really special animals that like to live there, but I've got some questions about it. I mean, the forest floor, I haven't traveled to a rainforest before. I don't know if you guys have. We certainly don't live in one. So let's see what we can learn about what it's like down at the forest floor.
Okay, I think that's a really great idea.
All right, so the rainforest floor is going to be a space that, just like here outside, has lots of dirt. We see maybe some low grasses or plants growing. But I think Miss Alyssa is going to have a few more things to tell us about what goes on the rainforest floor.
Well, hello there. I'm the forest floor.
Oh my, Alyssa, you sure look like a rainforest ground level. So, okay, you're in the rainforest on site for us, and you're experiencing the forest floor. How warm is it down there? Are you getting a lot of sunshine coming through?
Well, let me tell you, Jessica, here on the forest floor, it's quite warm and it's quite humid, not to mention rather dark and a little stinky.
Dark and stinky? Oh my, what's causing it to be so dark and so stinky?
Well, I'm on the forest floor and there are all of these trees up above and they are literally blocking a lot of that light. But the reason it's kind of stinky is because things are decaying down here. They are falling off of trees, things are dying, and they're just everywhere.
Oh my goodness, that sounds like quite the place. So what sorts of animals are you finding down there?
Well, there are some really big animals down here. As a matter of fact, you might just see a jaguar come through, or perhaps you might see a panther, or
oh my,
you might notice a lot of insects down here.
That sounds like a wide variety of animals. That's got a lot going on it, all on the ground level of such a big place.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty amazing. Now, Alyssa, I know you're on site at our rainforest location, but here back at the studio, we have a special set of friends who are visiting us from the rainforest.
That's fantastic.
So we are excited to meet them. I'm going to hold them up so you can see them a little better. They are very tiny friends. These are poison dart frogs, and they're called green poison dart frogs because their color is green and black. Now, these tiny little friends are going to live on the floor of the rainforest, and they have a lot to tell us about what allows them to live there and why they find it such a good habitat. So, my dart frog friends, what sorts of adaptations on your feet or special abilities your feet have that allow you to live in a rainforest?
Well, Jessica, I'm glad you asked, but on our feet we have a lot of really sticky pads that allow us to get around in places, and it helps us to survive in our particular habitat.
Oh, okay. So those sticky toes are going to help you move across the wet ground, maybe over some low branches that are laying on the forest floor. That's pretty awesome, because if it's that damp and wet down there, you'd want those sticky toes to help you move. Now, it looks like you have a really big mouth. Is your mouth special and helping you live in the rainforest?
Oh yes, we definitely want big mouths because there are so many yummy things to eat down here. Can you imagine if our mouths were small? We really couldn't fit in there what we wanted. I think it needs to be rather large for the things that are here in the rainforest. Things are a little bigger down here.
They are. So are you eating an entire pizza by yourself?
Oh no, I like the McDonald's drive-thru personally, the chicken nuggets. Just kidding. You have to have a little bit of a personality down here on the forest floor. But I will tell you, no, I really like to have some insects and things like that down here.
Oh, lots of bugs. Well,
Yes.
I can't say I'm a fan of eating bugs, but as long as you are happy where you're living, that's all that matters. Now, when I look at you, it looks like you're kind of shiny. Is there anything special on your skin that helps you survive at the forest floor?
Well, yes, and I'm glad you asked that. This is not sweat. We're not glistening. We actually have some slime that's on our skin that helps us. It protects us. It's a protective barrier because we can actually breathe through our skin and take things through our skin. So if you were to touch us, and let's say you had that pizza you were referring to earlier, some of that pizza would come through to our skin, and we just are not really good with that. We don't like that. So we're very happy that we have that protective layer on our skin.
Oh, slime. So it probably then helps that you live in such a humid environment with so much rain and so much water in the air to allow that slime to not dry out.
Absolutely. What a perfect place for us. We're just so happy to be living here, Jessica.
It sounds like you guys have found the perfect habitat for you. Thanks so much for teaching me about your life on the rainforest floor. What a great animal friend to meet. Now, I know, like we saw in the slide, there are more layers than just that forest floor. So our next layer is going to be moving up into the air, and we are going to the next step. And Alyssa, on site in the rainforest, is going to help us learn a little more about that particular layer.
Well, hello, Jessica. I've climbed a little bit higher, and now I find myself in the emergent layer of the rainforest.
Oh my goodness, Alyssa, be careful. It looks like you're hanging onto a tree there.
I really am, but don't worry, if I dropped off of this, it's not too far down. You see, these trees are not very tall, and we also have some shrubs on the ground, so literally, I'm really just hanging on a couple of feet above the ground. No worries. I could go a little higher.
Good. So you are hanging out in what I would call the understory, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. So it's a little bit above the ground, so we're getting a little bit higher into the rainforest. Are you still smelling that dirt smell?
I am still smelling that dirt smell here in the understory. I got a little confused there for a second, but yes, I am in the understory, and as a matter of fact, I'm getting a little more light coming in right now, and I can still smell a little bit, but something above me is quite fragrant as we're moving up, but I like it here. It's not too bad.
Okay. Have you met any animals while you're hanging out there?
You know, those jaguars and panthers I was talking about, you know, they kind of can crawl up here, and I saw a glimpse of those as well, but also there's some snakes up here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my, that's fascinating. So in the understory, you're getting into the trunks and the branches of some of the trees, and you're starting to see a little bit more sunlight coming through, filtering down through all of those leaves.
Yes.
But it's still on the darker side, it looks like.
It still is a little dark, but still is a humid environment with a lot of food for these amazing animals that are here.
Well, that is fascinating. Now we have a good friend visiting the studio. This is Pongo, and Pongo is a rainbow boa constrictor. He's a special type of snake who's curled around my hand right now because that's how he's most comfortable. But rainbow boas are found in the tropical rainforest, just like where Alyssa's visiting. And they are going to enjoy that understory layer, where it's just above the ground so that they're not going too high, but it also gives them plenty of places to wrap around branches and hang just like he is on my hand while they wait for a snack to come by. Now, snakes like this are going to look for meat to eat. So in the rainforest, they're going to find things like birds, small mammals that are just starting to climb up into those trees at low levels, as well as eggs. And having this strong body is going to help them get into those trees. But let's let Pongo tell us a little more about himself. So Pongo, I see you don't have any arms or legs. How are you getting into the understory?
Well, Jessica, I'm glad that you asked that question. But you see, I'm covered in scales, and my body is quite muscular, and it helps me move all around.
My goodness, so you can even climb trees without arms and legs. That's amazing, Pongo. Oh, I see you've mentioned your scales, and I can see there are lots of different colors on your body. How do those scales help you survive in the understory?
Well, I'm glad you asked, as I am quite handsome with these scales. They really help me to camouflage in my area so no one can see me. I can slip by them rather easily, and they help me to survive in that environment.
Well, that sounds perfect. I know camouflage is very important to a lot of animals that live in the rainforest as well as all around the world. Now, as you move, I'm noticing that you're sticking out your tongue. Pongo, does that have anything to do with how you find your food?
You know what? It actually does. Now, some people might think I'm being rude, but I'm not doing that to just stick my tongue out. I'm doing that because I'm smelling. You see, there are things that will land on my tongue, and I will know where the food is coming from. Things are floating all over in the air here in the rainforest, and I'm using this to smell them and to know where they are and how to get to where they are.
Well, that sounds very helpful in an environment or a habitat where there isn't a whole lot of sunlight to see by. It sounds like you rely a lot on your tongue to help you find your food. I'd say that the understory is the perfect place for you to live. Thanks, Pongo, for helping us learn. Now we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to Pongo and go to Alyssa, who has traveled to a different layer of the rainforest. Alyssa, my goodness, where are you now?
Well, as a matter of fact, right now, Jessica, I'm finding myself in the canopy layer, and I am the roof for everything that is happening down below in that understory and down on that forest floor. There sure is a lot of rain here, but a lot of light as well.
Oh, goodness, it looks like you definitely need that poncho to keep you dry.
You bet. Starting to rain right now. All right.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Use that to help keep you safe. So, you said you're seeing more light up there. Why do you think that is?
Well, because I'm quite high now up in these trees. On the forest floor, my feet were on the ground. The emergent, in the understory, I was actually up a little further. But now in the canopy, I'm pretty high up here. And as a matter of fact, I find myself chilling with some orangutans and some other animals up here. And we are quite high. But let me tell you, there are other animals up here too, like brightly colored birds.
Wow.
There are some butterflies, and there is so much food.
That's awesome. So if there's a lot of food up there, I bet you're getting a lot of different smells than you were seeing down on the forest floor.
Well, I can tell you that it's a 100% better smell up here in this area, as I can smell some fresh flowers and fruit.
Oh, that does sound better to me. Well, thank you, Alyssa. That looks great.
Yeah.
Definitely do your best to stay dry and be careful up high in those trees.
Will do.
Now, I brought a very special friend from the rainforest to meet me today. Let's see if she'd like to come over and say hi to everyone. Are you ready? Sure, there we go. Sometimes she gets a little bashful, but here she comes. This is D'Artagnan. We call her Dart for short. And Dart is a blue and gold macaw, a type of parrot that would love to live in the tropical rainforest. Now you can see that she has very bright colors on her body. Dart, will you tell us about how those colors help you survive in the rainforest?
Yes, I will! Those colors in the rainforest really help me to camouflage in. If I'm in a tree next to some brightly colored fruit, I blend right in. Or if they get a chance to see my green on my head and I'm standing next to a leaf, I camouflage there as well.
Well, that sounds like a perfect fit. And I can see your mouth is really big, especially compared to some of the other animal friends we've met already from the rainforest. Does your mouth do anything special to help you survive?
Oh, wow! I've got a super big beak, and it helps me a lot, but also a very strong tongue that can crack open some nuts.
Whoa, so you like to eat lots of nuts, and I'll bet you enjoy some of the fruits that grow in the rainforest too.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Now, one thing you've got that some of the other animal friends haven't had is that you have wings. How do your wings help you move around the canopy of the rainforest?
Well, it's pretty windy, not as windy as up in the emergent layer. However, it helps me to fly from branch to branch, gliding and getting to where I need to go, and it also protects me from people who might want to get me.
Oh, sure. I know we talked in the lower layers about some of those jaguars that certainly might love to eat you for a snack. So being able to fly away and escape sounds like the perfect plan. And I'll bet it also helps you move from tree to tree to find the fruits when they're nice and ripe and ready to eat.
Oh, it sure does. I'm always ready for some good new fruits.
Wonderful. Well, I would say that you are very skilled and well adapted for living in that canopy or even the emergent layer of the rainforest.
You bet.
Oh, great. Well, you certainly have been a big help in us learning about that upper level of the rainforest. And thank you for going all the way to the top and not making Miss Alyssa travel that high.
My pleasure. We want to make sure we keep you all safe.
Wonderful. Well, let's say goodbye to Dart, and we will go ahead and meet Miss Alyssa back here in the studio. Oh, Miss Alyssa, I think there's one more place you were going to visit, though, before you come back. We talked about the canopy where we met the macaw that was getting pretty high, but I understand there's even a higher level of the rainforest. Is that right?
Well, yeah, Jessica, right now I'm coming to you from that emergent layer, which really is super high here in the rainforest. As a matter of fact, I can see out over everything that's going on here in the rainforest. And let me tell you, I think I should have brought a little more sunscreen because it's hot up here, very sunny. There is a lot of rain kind of coming, and it's windy as well. Talk about a lot of elements. So I'm really glad that I'm up here and I have this umbrella and just hanging out in this emergent layer.
Oh my goodness. Well, be careful up there. I'll bet with all that wind, you're getting to smell a lot of fresh air.
Oh, there's a lot of things that are fresh up here for sure, definitely. Lots of wind. I can still smell the fruits, and there are actually some flowers up here as well, quite fragrant. So yeah, it's quite pleasant.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay, but this sounds like this is the place where you are getting the most sun in the entire rainforest.
As a matter of fact, it is. I mean, like, it's really hot. And as a matter of fact, I'm noticing the leaves kind of have a waxy film on them, and I'm thinking that is because it helps protect them against there's harsher elements up here, I could say, than down in the canopy, in the understory, and the forest floor.
Definitely. So it sounds like not all of the trees reach up into the emergent layer, but just a special few. Is that right?
Yes, that is true. Just a special few. And as a matter of fact, up here I'm noticing the branches aren't quite as thick. They're a little thinner, and the animals that are flying around are quite light.
Okay. Very cool. Well, thanks, Alyssa.
You're
Make
so
sure
welcome.
you get down safely.
I'll try.
That's a long ways to the ground.
It sure is.
So that was pretty amazing. The rainforest, one habitat in the entire world, has so many different layers that are suited for so many different animals. And even though the rainforest itself gets lots of precipitation, all that water that we talked about, like rain coming from the sky, each layer gets a different amount as it trickles down. So every layer of the rainforest is special for some sort of animal.
Absolutely. What a great habitat. What a great place to be, right?
It sure sounds like a lot of fun. Although with all those animals there, I think it could be a little dangerous too.
Absolutely, but I'm so glad that they have those adaptations.
Definitely. So that is a pretty amazing habitat. Now, like we talked about at the beginning though, there are lots of different habitats all over the world. And I challenge you guys to look around and try and determine those ideal habitats for different animals, or for yourself, or for different types of plants. Because as we saw in those pictures, different plants grow in the desert versus what grows in the rainforest. They all have different needs.
Absolutely.
Now, next time you're out at the park or visiting the zoo, you can check out some of these habitats that some are made, like here at the zoo, specifically for individual animals to reflect or represent the habitat they would normally have in the wild. We're going to check out a video of one of those. This is going to be our tropics building, and it's going to show how different animals are living in those different layers all within one place at the zoo.
Oh, now that's absolutely fantastic to take a look at, and how they were each specifically placed in this particular habitat to be together because they would be together.
They would
right?
definitely. So you can see they're very different animals. They're birds and capybara on the ground. They're
Absolutely.
monkeys up in the trees. These are very different animals that all are sharing the same habitat. And here at the zoo, they're all living in the same building, in the same enclosure, because that's how they would normally survive out in the wild.
Well, what a great enclosure for them to be in, to have access to all of that and be in with so many different species.
It's very amazing that they're all happy together. And the zookeepers make sure that even though this is an environment that's been built for them, they have all those needs met in each layer of this exhibit. So they might put food up high for some of those animals that like to live up in the higher layers, as well as different foods down low for the ones that want to be on the forest floor.
And I'm noticing a lot of access to water there.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Just like a tropical rainforest.
You bet.
So when you guys come to visit the zoo next, or like I said, you go to a park or anywhere that has nature in it, make sure to look for those ideal conditions. What kind of water does it have? What kind of space? What shelter is offered? What plants are growing there? And what animals might like to live there? We want to thank you guys so much for joining us today on our adventure to learn about different habitats. If you have any questions, send them in to us. We'd love to answer them. But we want to thank you, and we'll let you know that we will see you again next time. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Bye.